Good night tonight. Really excited. I think we really able to help the Packers, help this football team. Added really good football players and really good people to this roster, and I think everybody's excited about that. And that I'll take questions.
Brian, did you largely stick to the whole best player available philosophy along the way? Because it looks like the guys you took clearly filled needs, or did you have to go and maybe stray a little bit at various times to kind of fill that need along the way?
No, I think there was some temptation to do that along the way, but I think we really were able to stay with the BPA, best player available. The board held up exceptionally well, which is really a credit to our personnel staff, but it held up very, very well as we went, and we had more choices during the picks that we had, which was nice. And it was one of them obviously allowed us to move down and do some things, which was nice too. So I pick up some picks. So no, I think we were able to kind of stay with the best player available. There were some guys we had rated, equally, and then need maybe played a little bit of part in that as well. But we never had to dip down around or anything like that.
Brian, did you move back because someone you wanted had been picked, or did you just think you had so many guys that?
Yeah, no, we actually had that deal done a couple picks ahead of time, so no, I mean, it was just in that particular round, our board was very, very strong. I was not able to pick up picks in the first day, and I kind of wanted to, so this was an opportunity to do that. And then it gave us some ammunition to kind of, there was a couple times I think later today that we tried to move around a little bit. We couldn't, but we might have that ability tomorrow with the extra picks that we gained.
Last game you played against a 49ers defense that's anchored by two really good linebackers. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you to compare Quay and potentially Edgerrin to Fred and Dre, but in terms of what you can get from those two guys as an anchor on your second level, do you envision similar impact there?
Yeah, I think it's tough to compare that. I think obviously we're moving to a little bit of a new defense where we're going to have some more numbers at linebacker. And if you look, beyond just this year of the linebackers that we have under contract, we needed to kind of address that a little bit. Really excited to get both guys today, and we think that they'll help. I mean, not only will they help on defense, but I think special teams as well. As we move into this kind of new defense where maybe we have a few more linebacker body types, these are exactly the kind of guys that we're looking for, the guys that can run and hit.
What's the impact value of having two of those guys at that position that has kind of come and gone in terms of significance in the league, but seems to be making a comeback?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's always been important. I think for the most snaps, we're going to play with two of those guys. So certainly we needed to add some depth, and then obviously those guys are critical on your special teams, and both these guys are going to have a very good ability in that phase.
What will Cooper and Bullard add to your defense, you think, if they both are ready to play right away? There are spots, there for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of speed, right? They bring a lot of speed. These guys are really good football players. They run and hit. I think, with Bullard, he's very versatile. He can play the nickel. He can play safety. He's done a lot of things. He's a big-time leader for that football team at Georgia, which has been very, very good. And then obviously, Cooper, the speed that he brings to the table at the linebacker position is rare. And so I think we got a lot faster, which I wanted to do this weekend.
Brian, are these the defensive players? Are these guys you would have picked regardless of scheme, or were they more like, okay, these guys really do what Jeff?
Yeah, I think regardless of scheme. Yeah, I don't think. I think the linebacker position was one, regardless of scheme, we were going to have to address. But we do need a little bit more bodies there than we would have, maybe in the past.
What was that impressed you about Lloyd?
I just think, one, he had a very good start in the SEC, was really good back in the SEC. And I think it's his overall ability, not only as a runner, but the ability to catch the ball. I think he's got some return ability. He's a 220-pound man. He's packed in a tighter frame, but his ability kind of to make people miss, he's got a little juice to him. And then, again, he's 220 pounds. I mean, he breaks tackles. So we think his best football is ahead of him, and we're really excited to get him as well.
Feelings about 5'7" and 3. What are your feelings about 5'7" and 3/4 there? I'm guessing Ron Wolf might not have taken a guy. I mean, I realize it's a running back, but
Talking about Lloyd?
Yeah.
5'8" and 3/4.
Oh, was it 5'8",
Yeah.
3/4? Oh, they showed 5'7".
I guess, yeah, that's a misprint. Yeah. 5'8 3/4. But yeah, he's a little shorter. But I mean, at the same time, again, he's 220 pounds. When you guys get a chance to see him, if you haven't already, I mean, he's pretty put together.
With your linebackers, look at the 4-3 is kind of new to us too. Can you have Walker and Cooper on the field at the same time, like is in your nickel? Like when you go to your 4-2-5, can they? Are they middle linebackers? Can you play with a Will and a Sam together?
Yeah, I think those guys are interchangeable. Certainly, there's going to be some different responsibilities, but what they're going to be asked to do, I think all our linebackers are going to be interchangeable. I know that they'll call them Mike, Will, and Sam, and they'll have different responsibilities, but their skill sets will be the same. If that makes any sense.
Kind of had this with AJ, where and Marshawn, where they didn't catch many passes. How can you tell if a running back's a good pass catcher if he doesn't do that much in college?
Yeah, I think you look at the opportunities they have. When you got boots on the ground, certainly in practices and things like that, you get a pretty good idea, whether it's the All-Star games, things like that. And then the combine's always a very good indicator for me. I really like that. In the pro days, again, it's different than game type situations, but I think you go through. I know with AJ, again, he rarely was used in the passing game at all at Boston College. But when he went through the stuff at the combine, I mean, his hands were rare. He had excellent hands. So again, now whether that can translate into run routes, that's the harder part. If they don't do a lot of that, then you're kind of just betting on the athletic skill set and do they have the ability to do that stuff once they're in our system and get coached by our guys.
When you talk about the three linebackers being interchangeable among the three, I don't know if other systems might have it more standard like Sam will or not, but why do you want it to be interchangeable there?
Well, first of all, like we've talked about a lot, I mean, this is a 4-2-5 league, right? And so I think if those guys are interchangeable and they can do everything we're asking those guys to do, it just gives you flexibility. I think if a player is limited in some form or fashion, then that can be a problem, And to me, really, speed is the game right now. They've got to be able to run, And I think the two guys we selected today, obviously you guys know Quay can run. We've gotten faster. Isaiah can run. So I really like that group and where we're headed with that right now.
Speaking of interchangeable, is Bullard, he played the slot, the star, whatever, 2 years ago and then was a free safety last year. Is he the interchangeable safety that you really want alongside McKinney?
Yeah. I mean, he can play the post. He can come down in the box. He can jump in the nickel. He can do a lot of things, and he has done a lot of things. And probably as close to a pro style defense as there is. So yeah, he's a very versatile player. I think in our current situation, we'll probably start him out at safety. But like a lot of these guys, until our guys get him and get their hands on him and work with him, those things will ultimately be determined at a later date. But he's versatile enough to do all the things we're going to ask back there.
What study did you put into Marshawn Lloyd's fumbles? Did you go back and look at?
We did, yeah. You always look at those things. We felt they were correctable. It wasn't an overly big concern for us, So, but yeah, those are always things that jump out at you that make you spend extra time on. So.
Brian, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see all the talent that Georgia has on defense. You guys have 4 of them now. What is it about them that makes you kind of be like, wow, these guys are guys that we want?
Yeah, they're recruiting better than a lot of people right now, But no, I mean, obviously it's a very successful program, like many others. But they, the way they go about their business is, I think, produces, guys who are ready to play in the National Football League. They are getting some of the top talent, as some of those SEC schools are. So I don't think it's not something intentionally that we just targeted Georgia or anything like that. I think it's just kind of how it's played out. They've been one of the better teams in college football over the past few years. So we're glad to have them. It's a nice phone call to ask them if they want to keep that G on their helmet. That's always a nice thing when you're drafting these guys. But there's programs in this country in college football that if you survive and make it there for 3 or 4 years, that you kind of know what you're going to get. Because of what you have to do day in and day out to survive in those programs. So, and that's one of them.
Brian, what do you like best about Hopper? And he mentioned on the phone that he had a formal with you guys in Indy and then also a 30 visit here. Just anything from those interactions.
Yeah. No, he's really physical. He can run, but his stopping power when he takes on ball carriers is pretty impressive. A very serious-minded guy. I think he really helped change that defense. The Missouri defense here was excellent. And had a number of good players, but They're very well coached there. Another one of those programs where, we felt really good about taking somebody out of that program because of how they do things there. So, but his stopping power as a tackler was really impressive.
Speaking of interchangeable, at safety, you said you wanted to stay interchangeable. How do you see Javon's combination, how he's going to match with Xavier?
Yeah, again, I think, like I said before, I don't think there's anything he can't do, X is such a dynamic player, and obviously we put a lot into him to get him here. We want to be able to try to move him around and put him in different spots, and to do that, you have to have somebody else, next to him that can do a lot of those things. So if Javon's able to come in here and kind of win that job, if that's what ends up happening, we do feel very good about him being able to do that again. NFL defenses are more complex at times, so it'll take him some time, like all these guys, to adjust. But once he gets there, the skill set is there to do all those different things, which allows, X to be freed up as well.
Back to Spoon's question on Marshawn. Is hand size an issue there?
I don't think so. We've the analytic studies as far as fumbles and hand size doesn't really track, so I don't think so.
On the positive note with him, he had a lot of big playability. Was that something that you're looking for?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's especially, not only as a runner but in the passing game as well. He's got, he's got serious speed. He's very elusive. He's got great balance. So yeah, he's a little bit different than some of the backs we have in our depth chart right now.
After watching Hopper play during the year, were you surprised at what he ran in the 40? And then, but he still has a pretty good vertical, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he was in the high 4.5s for us. He ran fast, so that was pretty good for us. And he's an explosive athlete, so no, I thought he runs fast on tape. He ran fast for us on the watch, so it all came together.
In high 4.5s, you said,
Yes.
on the watch?
Yep.
Ryan, are you looking at defensive players with the same kind of skill set that you have in the past, or body type, or anything different with Jeff here now, or has he had any input in that regard?
He certainly had a lot of input in how we've gone about free agency in the draft, but there's not much changing as far as the style of play we're looking for, or the body types or anything like that. I think there's some subtle differences in the scheme that we're looking for, where maybe a guy's skill set maybe translates a little bit better here or there. But again, I've stood up here before. I'm a big believer that we're trying to acquire guys that can fit whatever scheme we want to run, and I think that's doable in the National Football League. But there's some subtle things that we're aware of that certainly might edge a guy out over another guy.
Cooper, change your pass rush at all, or was that something? Were those 8 sacks something to do with the college game?
Yeah, I think both linebackers have the ability, because of their speed and elusiveness, to be kind of off the ball blitzers and dogmen that can kind of affect the quarterback. So, I think it really probably came down to what Missouri did compared to Texas A&M, but they both have that ability. And as far as how that's going to play out and what we're doing on defense now, we'll see. But it was an attractive thing to us, the fact that he's able to do that. If you put him on an edge, he can get around the corner. If a back's trying to come up, he can beat him. That was part of our evaluation of him for sure.
How much opportunity does that give you for deception and disguising looks when you've got multiple off-ball linebackers that you can use in that way?
Yeah, and I think both these guys are big, rangy guys too, as well, not taking away passing lanes. I think that's important. Obviously, with Dre kind of moving on and stuff, like with him and Quay in there, those were two big, long linebackers that really could take away passing lanes. So I wanted to make sure that we didn't get too short there either. And both of these guys have nice size and length.
Goody, not to be Pollyanna-ish, because these guys have to be able to play.
Right.
But you've got, I think, 2, maybe 3 captains. You talked about Bullard's leadership. How does that factor in? Like, you don't want to take bad apples, but is that like a differentiator for you? And has that evolved over time? Is it becoming more important, or?
I think it's always been really important, but yeah, we pay a lot of attention to that stuff. Our scouts do a great job, kind of as we go through, really finding, because it's one thing to be a captain, but it's also you want to know is that really earned? Is that something that did the guys really follow these guys? And I feel really good about the 4 guys, and obviously Jordan yesterday taking these guys what they were at their programs. Most of these guys, with the exception of 2. went to there, stayed there, and became leaders at their programs, right? And I think that's really important. We have a great locker room right now. We have an excellent culture in there. But that can be a fragile thing if you don't put the right guys in there. And I think all 5 of these guys that we were able to acquire over the last 2 days really fit what we're trying to do in there. And, I'm excited for these guys to join when they get the opportunity. It's important, I think, as we go about this and the guys we're selecting to put in the locker room that we're thinking about the guys that are already there. And so I do think these guys are going to fit in well with what we got. And that's something we'd like to continue to do.
More, please.
Is there enough depth in this draft to justify all the picks you have at the end there? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. There's always players out there. It's our job to find them, right? So to your point, every draft's a little bit different as far as the depth goes and the numbers. Our numbers have held up pretty strong. I do think with 8 picks tomorrow, we have a little bit of ability to move around, maybe try to pick up something for next year. There's some options there. But if we just sit and pick all 8 of them, I'm golden with that or more. I mean, just because I think, I've talked a lot about the competition, and certainly the guys that you're going to pick, usually most of the time are going to have a little bit of better odds than the guys that are undrafted free agents. And so to me, like just creating the competition so that, it really accelerates everybody's growth. I mean, I think, that's something that we've seen a lot. And if you don't do that, I think it can hinder you. So that's kind of the idea.
Monday about the allure of having 5 picks in the first 91, and Spoff made the reference to maybe getting 5 of your top 50 guys.
Yep.
Why was it so important to have that, and did it go kind of according to plan, that you weren't really tempted many times to go up, and you were able to stay there and get those kind of guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the couple times that we were tempted, we were, really tempted, or I was trying. I think the guys were pushing back against me a little bit, saying, hey, be patient here. I think it's going to be all right. And that's the way it worked out. So, I think, obviously, I think, when you had 5 picks in the top 91, capitalizing on those was really important. And, again, you don't want to fall in love with players, but as the board falls, you're trying to get a sense of what you're going to have when you pick, what you might not have, and does it make sense to move up a little bit? And we had a lot of picks, so I was certainly willing to use those picks to move up to acquire certain players. And then we came close a couple of times to doing that, and then fortunately for us, it kind of fell the right way for us. In hindsight, I would have never needed to do that.
You got 5 of your 50?
Yeah, I think I think in our top, I mean, all these guys came out of our top 2 rounds, and I think I want to say roughly, I'd have to go back and look, but I think our numbers in our top 2 rounds was just under that.
Does it usually work out that way where your guys are pushing you to stay patient? We're not in the room,
No,
obviously, but
it's not usually like that. But no, they were. Our guys were really tuned in and had a great feel for how this thing was going to fall, and I'm very appreciative for that.
Why is that? You've done this long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you get a little antsy at times? Maybe you wouldn't, Mark?
No, I think there were some players up there that I was really hoping to acquire that we did end up acquiring. That again, we had a lot of picks, and so to me, I didn't want to sacrifice any in the top 3 rounds. But if we needed to do something else to acquire some of these players, I was willing to do it. Fortunately, we didn't have to.